So, first of all, sorry po sa onting technical difficulties. Medyo alam niyo naman po yung internet connections natin. Anyway, so this is our first webinar lecture series of PICE National. This is a project of the interspecialty group of PICE National. So, of course, alam naman po natin yung ito pong COVID. So, we have to think of ways how to again, of course, yung career progression po ng ating mga members. So we had this idea of having this webinar series for all of the specialty divisions. So we have this dry run or trial webinar lecture series will be for 1 week, starting now, Monday until Saturday. One specialty division topic po ang i-discuss natin for about an hour and a half to 2 hours po. And yun po, so to start off, I'd like to welcome our President, Sir Bong Suero, for welcoming remarks, kumbaga. Sir Bong.
Hi. Hi, Eric. Thank you. A pleasant day to everyone. Though there are some technical difficulties, but this is the pilot project of the PICE through the ISG, or the Inter-Specialty Group. So bear with us. But I hope this would not happen again. No? But anyway, on behalf of the PICE National Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you all and take this opportunity to thank you for attending this session of the PICE webinar lecture series, which would be held for 6 days this week. You know? So this webinar is a way to convey additional learnings to our members while we are on quarantine, and as a way of appreciation for your support to the PIC's initiatives in helping government fight this COVID-19 pandemic that we are experiencing. Also, this webinar is the new normal already in the PIC's delivery of our continuing professional development or CPD programs to our members, such as maybe the future regional technical conferences and seminars, until such time that the government will allow again mass gatherings. You know. At this point, I would like to thank our resource speaker, the panelists, the PIC National Board, the Interspecialty Group Committee, headed by our Director Season, and our Secretariat for making this webinar lecture series possible. Lastly, for everyone, I would like to wish you all a holy. Let us always pray for everyone and for a miracle to end this pandemic. A healthy. Let us live a healthy lifestyle and follow the advices and protocols of government to stay safe. And lastly, be happy. Smile. Happy with our family, with our colleagues, happy with our lives, happy to serve, and happy with what we are doing right now, this webinar session. With that, again, thank you. Have a great day and a fruitful webinar. Eric?
Thank you, Sir Bong. So, I just like to, before we start, I would just like to share some house rules ulit. Ayan po. So, house rules lang po natin for today's seminar is, ayan, before house rules, the microphone of all attendees shall be muted to avoid noise, and its audio shall be turned off so as to not to disturb both the presenter and other attendees. The attendees can only hear and view both the presenter and the panelists, yung gaya po ngayon. All questions shall be sent through the chat room found below this webinar. The panelists shall screen all questions and shall only read about 3 to 5 questions, depending on the time allotted or the time available, that is directly related to the presentation and with great importance after the presentation. Thus, it is highly encouraged that the chat room should not be flooded with unnecessary comments. Other relevant questions, if not addressed during the webinar, can be emailed to zoomwebinar.pice@gmail.com and can be addressed by the presenter later on via email. This session is broadcasted through the official Facebook page of PICE National with its name PICE Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers Inc. Comments and captions on Facebook Live broadcast will also be turned off so as viewers can focus on the presentation. So if you have friends who were not able to register, you can just advise them to just watch through this FB Live broadcasting sa FB Live. A poll evaluation of the webinar must be answered by all attendees. Attendees shall fill up the membership registration form through the link that is shown in the screen. Ayan po. This certificate of attendance, the certificate of attendance and the link where you can download the materials of the presentation shall be sent to your registered email after registering to the said link within 24 hours after the presentation. So yung the poll evaluation, we're working on having these seminars, webinars accredited sa CPD. So one of the requirements is the same as when we're doing the regular seminars natin sa RTCs or sa convention. There's a poll and evaluation form that we have to fill up after the seminar, and it is part of the requirement for the CPD accreditation. Kaya po nandiyan pa rin po siya kasi kailangan po natin yan for the CPD accreditation of this webinar. By the way, I think one of our attendees also here today is the chairman of the Civil Engineering Board, Ma'am Praxedes Bernardo is also here with us watching this webinar lecture series for today. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our speaker. Wait. So our speaker today is Engineer Robinson Abella Salenga II, a civil engineer, materials engineer, senior project engineer of the La Mesa Compound Project, Project Management Department, Maynilad Water Service. It's also a member of the interspecialty group under the Water Resources Engineering and a president of PICE Quezon City chapter Maynilad sub chapter. So welcome po. Our speaker to take over the presentation. So everybody, I'd like to have your undivided attention to our speaker. Sir Robinson.
Okay. Sir, paano na lang po yung screen? Mag-share na ng presentation. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Katulad nga ng sinabi ni Sir Bong, may technical glitches. Hindi ko alam kung ako lang ang hindi makapasok ng password. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to share my presentation. Okay. Okay. Again, good afternoon. I hope wala namang foreigner ngayon, so mostly Taglish ang presentation natin. So basically, the topic for today is water resources challenges. This is somewhat new to me because normally I'm presenting a project management presentation in the PICE National, PICE Regional Technical Conference. This presentation is actually I was informed 2 weeks ago that we're going to have a webinar. That's coincidentally with asking Sir Bong, our president, if we're going to have how to set up the webinar. Because as president of Maynilad subchapter, we are planning to have a webinar. And then he just mentioned that, and then also Doc Bob Lico, who is the chairman of the Water Engineering Specialty Division of Maynilad, asked me to present water resources challenges. So, but as mentioned earlier, the water resources challenges is a new entity or a new topic to be presented to PICE. So this presentation is a collaboration not only by yours truly, but also with other key person. So technically, the other key person is Engineer Patrick James Dison, who is a division manager of MWSS. Later, I give you the background of Patrick. He is also an attendee of this webinar. Okay, as mentioned by Sir Fred Tison, this is just a background. This webinar is a free lecture series by Interspecialty Division. As a background, the Interspecialty Division are basically the group tasked to see and to enhance the civil engineering profession. Hindi basta kasi dati, actually nung maliit ako, pag sinabing civil engineer, siya lang yung gumagawa. So nung nagkaroon ng nung naging CE ako tapos naging nagpa-practice, marami palang specialty ang civil engineering. So one of them is basically the water engineering. As mentioned earlier, most of my topics in PICE conventions and mid-year convention and national convention, it's project management. So project management, construction management. However, it will be presented also on Thursday by Doc Padernal. So yung nakikita nyo, say tomorrow, it's more environmental and energy. And then the next day, it's geotechnical. As mentioned, Thursday is project management, and then Friday, transportation, and Saturday, structural. So I'm happy to be the first presenter for this pre-webinar. Okay. So as mentioned earlier, we prepared this presentation was prepared by two engineers. The first one is Patrick James Dison. He is a professional fellow of Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative. He went to US last year to have some sort of like exchange student. Then he is a assistant director for Philippine Young Waters Professional and associate of Ecosentia Solutions for Environmental Sustainability. He is also the technical speaker of for the 2019 Major Convention and regional conferences. Just a background, si Patrick is basically a go-to person ko, personally and professionally. He became the impromptu technical speaker for the 2019 PICE Major Convention in Davao because I have to attend personal matters. So technically, he presented my paper prepared. Supposed to be I'm also the presenter, but technically, ganun kagaling si Patrick. Ganun niya kaalam ganun yung may connection kaming dalawa. And he is currently enrolled in Masters in Environmental Management in Ateneo de Manila University. Okay. So that's kung siya si Batman at ako si Robin. Okay. Maynilad, he was a junior project manager. He was a junior project manager when I joined Maynilad. And he lived Maynilad for a greener pasture and a professional way for professional improvement that's why he went to MWSS. So okay. So actually that's me. I'm Robinson Salenga. So basically I am a civil engineer by profession. I am also a materials engineer. Kung nakita nyo kanina dun sa cover, masyadong mahaba yung pangalan. So basically, it's more on the certifications and accreditations that I've entered or I've garnered. So basically, I'm a American Academy of Project Managers Master Project Manager. I am a certified international project manager. I am a Six Sigma Lean Yellow Belt. I'm also a member of PMI, who is also the counterpart of AAPM. I am a safety COSH certified officer, US Green Building, and a FIDIC user. So that's technically my professional background. And currently, I am the president of Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers, Quezon City chapter, Maynilad subchapter. So basically, these are employees of Maynilad uh, who are civil engineers and basically a member. We are a subchapter of the Quezon City chapter. We are the only private. We are the first and currently the only private entity who is a subchapter of PICE Quezon City, and we are the 11th chapter. So 11th subchapter. Most of them, kasi si Quezon City masyadong malaki, so nagkaroon ng mga subchapters. So currently, right now, we are also preparing, as mentioned earlier, for a webinar. But basically, we are checking with the national if we can tied up with the national for the webinar, mostly water related and wastewater related projects. Okay. So as a professional background, I've worked with a few companies. I've started as a laboratory technician, as a estimator, as a designer, as a QS, as a project manager, as a developer representative, as a contract manager. But right now, I'm handling this, and most of them are completed projects also. I am, as mentioned by Sir Fred earlier, I am the senior project manager for La Mesa project, all La Mesa compound projects, and deep well rehabilitation projects for Maynilad. Okay. So basically, I'm part of the one who manage the project of the rehabilitation of La Mesa Treatment Plant 1 and La Mesa Treatment Plant 2. So we are currently rehabilitating that one. Okay. So just for that's for the introduction of the speaker and the authors of these papers that I'm presenting right now. So basically, to start with our topic discussion, we are now in the we have our water resources for the Philippines. It's relatively high in comparison to other neighboring Southeast Asian countries. So as you can see, the Philippines is situated in the Southeast Asia. So basically, we are part of the countries that have some sort of scarcity in terms of the water resources and the water sources. So just for information, the water sources is basically kung saan kinukuha yung tubig. Like, it can be a river, it can be a deep well groundwater, and the water resources is basically how we transverse or how we converse the water itself. Okay, so as mentioned, this is the geographical representations of the Philippines. So basically, the coverage of the water is 1,830. So that's comprises of the waters that we have. So in accordance to Presidential Decree 1067, which is the Water Code of the Philippines, basically waters, as per Article 3, all waters belong to the state. So each and every one of us is a state. So technically, we are part of we have the rights on the water. Okay, and in comparison to that one, the distribution of Earth's water, taken into consideration that we have 100 ml as a representation of that one. So 97% of that one contributes for the considered as salt water, and roughly 30 ml or 30% of that one is the fresh water. And of that 30% fresh water, basically 21% of the 30% is frozen in the ice cap, and 8% lies on the underground, which is basically expensive to tap and to filter. Therefore, we have only limited at least 1 ml or 1% of the fresh water that is readily available for human consumption. So what that drop picture infographics noted? So basically, we are saying that out of say 100 percentile in available water within the world, there's only 1 ml fresh water, or say 101% of fresh water that is readily available for human consumption. So meaning so we can take that one literally. However, like we have a Clean Water Act or similar to that one. Our point being is that there should be uh, the potability of that water for human consumption should be properly regulated. Okay, so technically with that representation of previous slides, water is used 70% for agriculture. So that's 1.5 liters per second per hectare, liters per seconds per hectare for average Filipino farm rice, and then 1,500 liters per kilogram for wheat and rice. That's the one that needed to produce for that one, and then 15 liters of per kilogram of beef. So technically, that's the analogy of that 70% that's used for agriculture. And the 22% of that one will go used by industrial to produce and transport products for manufacturing and for coolant and in the factories and refineries. Okay, and then basically the remaining percentage of that one, that's 8%. It's that's used for domestic. That's for personal, municipal, or domestic. And then 80 to 160 liters per capita per day in the Philippines utilizes for drinking, pag inumin at panligo, panlaba, to include water. Wag isama pa natin yung mga water theft and wastage or the non-revenue waters. So to sum up on that one, the 8% that was allocated for domestic is basically a lower portion, a lower percentage. Though kung naririnig nyo with respect to the NWRB for the past years, for the past months and this last year, NWRB has been prominent that basically they are the governing bodies with respect to the water regulation. The they are more focusing on the domestic. So basically, it's part also of the Water Act that were being that was enacted. So the priority is for the domestic. How actually when I'm finalizing this few slides, it's quite ironic that the 8% water used for consumption domestic was given emphasis on the Water Act, Clean Water Act. Well, later I'm going to show you that representation. Okay. So the water utilization in the Philippines, as per water rights granted by NWRB in the 2017. So basically, it's more on the hydropower, then the fisheries, hydropower, then irrigation, industrial, municipal usage. So that's compromised for the higher power. The hydropower is contributing for a higher water utilization in the Philippines. Okay, so basically it's 61%. Rounded off for that one, and then for irrigation agricultural, that's 29%, and then including the livestock and the fisheries on that one. And the industrial is 5%, and the municipal usage is 3.4. In the recreational, that's 0.14% only, and eventually for the others, it's 3%. Okay, hydropower and recreation are non-consumptive usage. Okay, the groundwater is only 2%, and the surface water is relatively 28% right now. Okay, okay. As per report number 19 of which technically outdated, not really outdated, but it was reported 1976 by the Philippine Water Resources. Okay, on the first national assessment, the Philippines is the country blessed with abundance of these natural resources. Technically, that's water, but it tends to be available in the wrong place, in the wrong time, and the wrong quality. Okay, how does that interpreted to that one is that basically has Philippines has 421,000 river basin and 18 major river basins. And then the water resources in the Philippines, it's only 148 water, that's inclusive for the surface and the groundwater of the 120 and the 20.2. Okay, so there are many water sources potential in the Philippines. However, as you can see in the NCR, there are only 99% MCM per year, million cubic meter per year on that one. So basically, as you can see, the highest on that one is on region 13. So, and then as we go along, so region NCR, because of because of the of its being a city with the cityhood and with the infrastructures already rested on that one. Nearby municipalities or nearby regions can contribute to have that one. Like the main source of water for our treatment plants is basically coming from Angat. Angat is basically in Bulacan, which is region 3. So what does constitute for that 99 MCM per year for Manila, say technically NCR, National Capital Region, is mainly the deep wells, the subterranean water sources for that one, which coincidentally I'm part of the rehabilitation and reactivation of deep wells inside Maynilad concession, which technically can supply for additional a X number of MLD or MCM per year to that effect. Okay. Again, going back to those to that present to that notation in the Philippine Water Resources NWRC report number 19, which published in December 1976, that the Philippines is one of the countries blessed with abundance of natural resources. Again, it tends to be available in the wrong place, in the wrong time, and in the wrong quality. So, considering the water on that one, as we all know, in NCR there are roughly more than 10 million people. Sorry, 10 million people already in residing in the NCR. However, the source of water, the available water that can be sourced in that place, it's limited. And especially if we're utilizing on the potability of the water. So technically speaking, those those number of resources that can say number of quality quality of water that we can receive or we can get from that area is limited. So unlike with the other places, as mentioned earlier, like in region 13, there are abundant supply of potable water that can be abundant source of water that can be treated as potable water. So basically, that item is basically correct in that sense. However, there are so many water agencies in the Philippines. First and foremost is MWSS, so the Metropolitan Water Sewerage Company, the National Irrigation, the Laguna Lake, the DPWH, the DNR, uh, the LUA, the Local Water Utilities, the National Power Corporation, as mentioned, the National Water Resources Board, PAWAD, the concessions, Manila Water, and Maynilad. So technically, these agencies these water agencies in the Philippines technically work hand in hand to minimize or to properly allocate waters, allocate the available water. Say, as mentioned earlier, di ba nga, ENWRB nagkakaroon ng discussion with NIA or National Irrigation for the availability of water for irrigation purposes for different type of consumption. But mainly it's more on the sabi nga nasa pag-uusap lang kung paano makakatulong sa isa't isa. Okay? So why is water resources management critical? Okay? Mainly this is one of the first question, many of the first question that we had. So water resources management, it's basically properly managing the allocated or predetermined or water resources or water sources that can be utilized for human consumption. Okay, so this is a typical graph for that one. So as the population grows, the economy grows, there is an increase of water demand. So as the common notation goes, the law of supply and demand, if the law of the if the demand is high and the supply is low, technically there will be a change in cost. Okay, so there is an increase in demand of water by having a growing population and growing economy. So same thing, if there's an increase in demand, there would be an increase in pollution. As the economy progresses, there would be some minor or uh, limit minimal pollution. So technically speaking, there would also be a growing pollution. However, there is a constant amount of water supply, as same in the case of Metro Manila or NCR. Currently, we still have we have only one constant amount of water. That's 42 to 46 cms allocation by the NWRB coming from Angat. And then the increase in competition for scarce water. Okay, so therefore there's a need for allocation and conflict resolution. So in layman's term, pag lumalaki yung population natin at lumalaki din ang economy, mas marami yung demand na kailangan ng tubig natin, pero yung supply natin is constant na constant lang yung amount ng sinusupply. There would come a time na magkakaroon ng scarcity of that, even though it's not water, even though it's electricity or any item. Like in this current situation, we don't have traffic, physical traffic of vehicle. However, there is a different kind of traffic right now. Basically, it's more of the internet traffic. Uh, Siguro that's one of the reason. That's why I cannot get into earlier because of many participants who's trying to join in that in this webinar. So there's also a scarcity of not only say on this in this matter a water. So there should be need for allocation. So uh, technically there's a need, there's a management, critical management of water resources that need to be resolved. As discussed with my with my Robin, which is Patrick. They MWSS, as far as I know, is trying to resolve few items, especially for the resources management, which mostly can be presented in the next coming webinar or coming seminars. So he just presented that few line item on how to to resolve the conflict and the allocations of the water. Okay. However, currently we have an Republic Act right now, which is Republic Act 6716 of fighting construction of water wells, rainwater collectors, and rehabilitation of existing wells on all barangays in the Philippines. And same thing, there's a DILG Memorandum Circular 2017-1776, which is dated uh, June 14, 2017, rainwater collection. So that's one of the remedies that they are looking for. Sorry, they're implementing right now. So as mentioned earlier, so the increase in the competition for scarce water, the growing population, the increasing demand of water, most likely can be manifested by the water sources development. So technically, water sources development aim towards the construction of limited number of durable long-term water sources. So what are their objectives is basically increase the capacity of the sources and improve the quality of the water and make it readily available for distribution. This water source development is basically aimed to have not the short uh, like the band-aid solution on that one, but basically we are trying to source out just to for the improvement of the other sources. As mentioned earlier, there are so many places but limited resources. uh, Same thing, if we have much number of water sources and improve its capacity, we are uh, we are going to improve the water quality that we're going to supply. That the say even though for other usage for domestic, for fisheries, and for irrigation, and it will be ready available for distribution. So uh, just for everybody's concern, if we have the required number of required volume for our sources, we can easily distribute for that one. Distribution pipelines, it's easier to build than to build the water source itself. Okay, so uh, why we are pushing for a water sources redevelopment, and one of the critical challenges also that we're facing right now, it's basically this. This is an aerial view of Lomesa Dam way back March 2019, March to April. The standard level of that one should be all in in the vegetation area. However, due to the large drawdown of water with respect to the number of consumers that requires water, the water on that one depleted. Good thing that the concessionaire who's managing that one come up with a solution with the solution together with other concessionaire and together with the MWSS. Okay, so in order not to hamper, in order not to experience a similar scenario, there are so many challenges that the water sources or water resources management are facing right now. So there are critical water resources challenges that basically the we are facing, we are experiencing right now, in if not to the level of the consumer, but to the level of the government or to the level of the implementer. So basically, this was reported that this was extracted. If you're going to just say Google water resources challenges, one of the items that will going to pop up is the challenges in water resources management in the Philippines, which was prepared by Pasita Barba of the National Water Resources Board, which basically discussed that items presented in presented during that time is basically being implemented or are now being discussed. So as discussed also with Doc Bob Licup and in one of our ISG meeting or interspecialty group meeting for water sources, he noted that there are still challenges that were written. Actually, as mentioned, the notes of the literature made by Miss Pasita Barba was also been recognized and was being referred to by one of the rainwater catchment system by Japan Rainwater Catchment System Association. It was part of that journal, which basically introduces. He specifically the writer of that one was Edward Lapung and Masayuki Fujihara, which basically the source. Actually, you can just. I'm just going to include that one in the articles that are going to be uploaded through this webinar. Credit to those two reports that basically when Doc Bob Licup asked me to prepare this presentation or on the water resources challenges, there are still this document, these literatures presented by Pasita Barba of the National Water Resources Board and Journal of Water Catchment System was still being referred to by other writers and other authors or other researchers, so as to we are crediting those line items. So basically, the critical water resources challenges that we are facing right now, it's basically this uh, 6 or 7 line items. So basically, it's segmented management and weak framework. So what does it mean? So basically, it's one of the critical issues confronting the Philippine water sector is lack of appropriate institution framework. So, as we all know, there is a move that there should be a Department of Water. So that's one of the presentation made by my colleague Patrick Dixon, that they are enhancing for a Department of Water within the government, so that it will going to marry or to have one entity, because currently right now, as mentioned earlier, there are 30 government agencies and departments separately dealing with water supply, irrigation, hydropower, food control, pollution, watershed management, and a similar. So there is no one single entity. Kung nakita nyo kanina, maraming, kaya pinasend ko rin yun para may background kayo kung gaano karami yung nagmamanage ng mga water, na mga water-related projects or water-related industries within our form of government. Okay. Next is missing water allocation with conflict on the use of the parameters. So technically speaking, it's more on the proper allocation or proper distribution, and same thing, proper like if it is really for this type of usage, are we prioritizing those line items? So, and there's a conflict on the use of the parameters. These parameters has been being studied right now by a few individuals, which I will going to quote. It's part of the study being conducted by the co-author Patrick Dixon. Okay. Water use regulation enforcement. So technically, it's more on the enforcement of the water code. So there are many water use regulations that were being trying to be implemented, and then the provisions in the water code of the Clean Water Act or in the water code of the Philippines is basically need to be enforced properly. So if we have done that one properly, there should be a proper regulation and proper notation on the water allocation itself. Okay, old water plan and researches. So other term for that one is outdated frameworks and researches. So there are currently in the current scenario right now, based also on the discussion with previous discussion with the ISG water engineering ISG. There are so many water researches and framework plans that have been initiated by by one of our member in the water engineering ISG, and it's upon hearing that one, it's too surprising, and it's too exciting that there are plans, and there are activities that similar to that one that they're trying to dealt with. So I think this one is not really a challenge right now. The challenge right now is how to implement those researches. Okay. Okay. Next is the economic pricing. So alam naman natin na ang common na sinasabi, ang tubig daw is masyadong mahal. The tubig itself is free. We all know that one. But the potability of that one and the safeness of that one, that's what we are paying for. Okay. I myself has been the anak of tubig, because my father used to work with a local water district somewhere in Olongapo, and I am a father of tubig, because yung anak ko, tawag ko anak ng tubig, because I'm working right now in Maynilad. So basically, understanding the quality of water that needs to be delivered, on how you treat the water, it's one of the issues that we are being dealt with. Sometimes it's quite amazing to us bakit hindi na lang ilibre ang tubig. Ang tubig is libre, pero yung safe na tubig, it's hindi libre. Kailangan mo bayaran kasi may ginagawa para malinis at maging potable ang water. Okay? Environmental aspect. So basically, we cannot really do similar. Say, if we want to have an improvement or a water source per se in that location, there are so many environmental aspects. I'm going to further discuss this item in the next coming slide. Okay, and same thing, water allocation. So good thing that one of our the use of act in the PD 1067 specifically noted on line per line what would be the items that needs to be properly allocated for the water, proper allocation of water per se. Okay. So to sum up, there are relatively 4 major challenges in the water resources. First is the cost related. So alam naman natin, once we source out for water, there should be a cost for that one. A budget is needed, and specifically the infrastructure is needed. Same thing, cost is driven. So operationability on that one, and same capex or capital expenditures and OPEX, the operational expenditures, are summing up to that cost related issues. Okay. Implement contract provisions. Same thing. There are problems. There are challenges implementing, as mentioned earlier, the proper allocation and the proper implementation and the provisions of the contracts. Or in wide scope, implement the provisions as per agreed or approved law. Okay. Next is the more on the site management approach. So dealing with the resources itself and improving and managing on how you're going to mitigate that one. It's one of the challenges that the team for water resources is commonly facing. And lastly is the more on the design issue. Design issue entails to that aspect of considering all economical, socio-economical aspects and design implementation, code considerations, and manpower and consultancy allocation. Okay, what can be done? What can be done with those challenges? Okay, so how do we respond to the challenges being presented? Those 6 or 7 line items. So there's a Water Act already in being implemented in the Philippines and say Southeast Asia and globally. Okay, strengthening existing agencies, authorities, and power. So there is now a delineation of works considering those items that were discussed earlier, and say develop water sources. Developing water sources is basically one of the key items and key factors that an engineering entity should dealt with. And improvement of water governance, that ties up with an item number 2. So strengthening of the existing agencies, authorities, okay, and the watershed approach. Basically, watershed implementation, watershed management. It's more on delivering economic and socio-economic factors contributing to water allocation. Okay. So as mentioned earlier, the Presidential Decree 1067, it's provided that the order of preference in the use of water allocation. So first and foremost, as mentioned earlier, that 8% that human consumption is basically covered as priority for the domestic use. And then second is for the irrigation, and then the power generation. However, hydropower allocation as presented in the earlier slides consume much more water in terms of volume. Okay. Sorry. And then the fourth one is the fisheries, livestock raising, and the industrial use. So in consideration of item 1, 2, 3, as we all know that the priority right now is to have a clean potable water for domestic use. In taking consideration for the area in Metro Manila, the domestic usage or the household usage is much be given priority over to the irrigation. However, there is still allocated water. There is a proportionate amount of water utilizes that were utilized for the irrigation and for the power generation. Okay, what are the drivers that we for those items? So as mentioned, we need to improve the health and sanitation condition to environmental preservation, and then concession agreement. Okay, and then as mentioned, the Clean Water Act of 2004, and then the Supreme Court decision to clean up and rehabilitate Manila Bay. Why I include those item number 4? Because as you can see, if we're going to have a clean and rehabilitated area, say like for the Manila Bay and for the esteros within Metro Manila or within the other nearby provinces, it can be a source of water. In one way or another, it can be utilized as a source of water. Yeah, like for desalination process or deep well processes, or though it's a minimal amount that can be retrieved to that one. However, it is still a possible or ample and a good supply of water sources within the location. Okay. So as for the creation or for the criteria of the water sources, as one of the mitigation on the challenges, so it should be a reliable, sustainable, and have adequate volume. Okay, the scale of that one should be a little bit larger. The cost in terms of capex, opex, and finances and tariff should be at minimum, and there should be an environmental and social impact. So we need to have to comply with the local and national guide compliance. It can be a DNR, IP, resettlement, and most likely political. And other rights and other issues might be considered like water rights allocation, location in relation to the commitments, etc. So that might be that is major consideration for the new water source. So that's one of uh, the answers on how we can source out for a new water source. Okay, as mentioned earlier, also these are the parameters. So these are the social, economical, the land acquisition, the right of way, regulatory, and government, as mentioned. Say if say for socio-economical, it's the IP, the indigenous peoples, the community resistance, the negative impact to particular resources, say if it is a historical site with cultural values, and the land acquisition, say the right of way, the site owners, and location. Same thing with the government entities. And in terms of regulatory and government permits, uh, pre-construction, during construction and post-construction are I need to be considered, like the pre-construction, like the LGU, DNR, ECC, etc. And for the water permits, and supposed to be the LLDA or the NWRB. Okay. For the environmental, these are the facilities, the alignment, obstructions, the natural resources that might create delays. Okay. The geohazard. Right now we are not only focusing on the fault lines, but also not only the flood and the landslide, but mainly on the fault lines. Okay. Construction risks, as mentioned earlier, not only the pre-construction, the construction difficulties in terms of the limited site area, the access. Normally, water sources projects are big water sources projects are situated not in the rural area, mostly in the urban. Okay, the complexity of the project system. Okay, the operational risk, the water quality, because that's one of the big parameters. The water volume, the amount of that needs to be allocated in that area, and the timeline of first water. So basically, it's more on the timetable that we're looking to, and the committed volume. So basically, it's the amount of water that we're going to utilize. Okay. So as mentioned earlier, these are the entities. Actually, may mga nadagdag na kasi mas dumami yung mga involved na sa water industry or water agencies. DNR is still there. MWSS, NIA, Laguna Lake, DPWH, NWRD, which is one of the key players. The local water utilities, the LUA, the NAPOCOR or the National Power Corporation, the Department of Health, because they are the accreditation of the laboratories that were tasked to test the potability must be authorized and recognized by the Department of Health. The PAWAD, or the Philippine Association of Water Districts, together with the LUA. Okay, the known concessions right now, Manila Water and Maynilad, and same thing. Why there's World Bank? I forgot to include ADB, because they are the financial institution that readily have grant loans for the local water utilities. Okay, also for the water resources that we need to. Okay. So note that water resources development involves conception, planning, design, operation of facility that's to control and utilize water. Okay? So as you can see, ito na yung medyo part na papabor si Engineer Suero. So it is really it's generally a function of a civil engineer. Okay? So those conception, planning, design, construction, operation of facility, in every aspect of that design, in every aspect of that stages of the project, you will see or you will find there's a civil engineer in that one. However, there are other entities that are working on those aspects. The services of specialists in natural and social science required political scientists, sociologists, electrical and mechanical engineers, marine scientists, chemists, everything, and financial analysts. But as you can see, most of the projects that were being handled directly in terms of water is there's always a civil engineer on that one. Okay, say coming from the Manual of Professional Practice of Civil Engineers published by PICE, the services of a civil engineer constitute mainly on the consultation, research, investigation, design services, special services for construction projects, engineering support services, academic services, services as employee. And for the infrastructures, it can be the streets, the highways, roads, ports, rivers, buildings, tunnels, and everything. But basically, uh, all of this one constitute also to water infrastructures and water construction. In my current situation, and in consideration to my colleague who is colleague Patrick Dison. Patrick is a civil engineer. He is also a sanitary engineer, but mainly he is a division manager of one of the division in MWSS, which is mainly focusing on the water infrastructure. So, but there he is. He is a civil engineer. He is practicing water engineering, utilizing reviewing water sources. I myself, I am a civil engineer. I am a project manager by profession, but as I am a civil engineer whose whose expertise are required also in implementation and sourcing out responses to the water engineering challenges. Okay. Okay. Technically, the management of water as critical resources shall be done in sustainable manner, taking into account the needs of present and future generation. Okay? Sustainable management. Sustainable management shall take into consideration the principle that water management shall be decentralized, participatory, and community-based. The last three words, decentralized, participatory, and community-based, it boils down that the water engineering or the water resources, the challenges in the water sources and the water engineering that being presented can be uh, can be managed or can be responded not only in the aspect of critical or technical aspect. Each and every one of us, okay, as a civil engineers, can contribute to that one. Hindi man tayo yung nandun, pero yung researches and yung mga information na alam natin na pwedeng i-share sa other parties or sa other entities can be helpful. Uh, Having work with the water resources rehabilitation, napatunayan ko na it's not mainly on the infrastructures itself, but mainly the challenges that every day na kinakaharap namin in terms of operation, in terms of the project itself, or in terms of the allocation itself. It's it's quite exciting and quite surprising. Kasi alam namin na tubig, nagbibigay kami ng potable and clean water sa sa aming mga concession or sa aming mga customer. As what Patrick mentioned in his previous presentation, a drop of water is worth a sack of gold to a thirsty man. With that, thank you for your time. My name is Robinson Salenga. I'm a civil engineer, and thank you for listening. Sir Bob, sir.
Ayan. Thank you, Sir Robinson. Yung maganda yung mga feedback dito, very informative nga daw yung topic nyo. We just have a few questions. I'll go over the questions and if you can answer them. So first of all, there's a question from Engineer Ray Ralota. Ayan po. Good afternoon, sir. Engineer Ralota from PICE Cebu. Can we utilize surface water storm drainage systems as much as possible? And based from your presentation, maraming government agencies are regulating about water resources. Can they make a water resource code, water supply, storm drainage, and etc. regulations?
Sorry, sir. Nakashare pa ba yun ako? Hindi na.
Alin po?
Wait lang. Sir, actually, it's a common question na naririnig natin. As mentioned earlier, di ba nga, maraming entity or maraming government agencies na ngayon ang gustong technically gustong mag-establish ng sariling mga item or mga water sources. So like in Manila, right now we are di ba pinatay kumaga technically is dinecommission na natin yung mga deep well, but with the resources that we have right now, ang nangyayari it's nagkakaroon tayo ng reactivation of those deep well kasi nga kailangan natin. But to answer the question, yes, may mga move na. I think it's Doc Bob Licop, who is also a prominent sanitary engineer, na nagpo-propose na sila for a different na may move sila na gawing magkaroon ng department specifically for the water. As mentioned earlier, may mga move na ginagawa kasi nga masyadong maraming entity, maraming government entities.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Next question, sir. Region 13 has the highest water resource. What are we doing to exploit this opportunity that may help our country?
Localize, sir. As mentioned earlier, we need to tap in with we need to partner with Region 13 on how they are utilizing those waters. Ang point kasi natin dito on the matter based on the presentation that we had, the allocation of water is a little bit higher on that one, but the demand on that one is lower. So what we're trying to check also, most likely on the future, we can do researches is how we can distribute those waters in the nearby provinces. Specifically, hindi naman natin pwedeng dalhin sa Manila yon at hindi natin pwedeng ibigay sa ibang region. What we can do for that one is that we can have some sort of like other relative relative allocations, like for the irrigation, not mainly on the domestic usage. But we are going to explore that one. That's a good idea. So at least may possible topics tayo, no? Or possible researches. We can tap in with the PICE research on that one, R&D.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Next, from Fredel De Vera, what other regulations that can be incorporated in RA 9275 to sustain potable water to those areas in the Philippines without proper access or allocation?
Sir, sorry, ulit, sir.
From Fredel De Vera, what other regulations that can be incorporated in RA 9275 to sustain potable water to those areas in the Philippines without proper access or allocation?
Basically, it's more on the discussion with their local entity na kasi medyo localized yung item na yon. Ang nangyayari kasi, sir, we need to have those items specifically for specific location. Kasi ang nangyayari it's the water distribution, as mentioned, it's more on the localized item.
So depende na ho dun sa local
Yes,
setting.
yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question. Would the Kaliwa Dam project help our water resources supply for the Metro Manila, for Metro Manila?
Based, though I am not privy to discuss those specific points, but based on the on the items that being presented, say like the project objectives on that one. The main objective of that one is to augment the degrading amount of water within Metro Manila. So that's one of the sources on the sources of water, augmenting our water within Metro Manila. As we all know, the Angat Dam is fluctuating, meaning hindi pare-pareho araw-araw ang level of water niya, and most of the time during summer season is medyo ano talaga, nagdi-deplete na yung water. So as what the government is saying, the Kaliwa Dam is one of the major dams that needs to be constructed.
Okay, sir. Next, sir, I think there's two questions here that are related. The first one is, here in Saudi Arabia, the source of fresh water is zero. They are using the desalination plant where the source is the ocean. Can we adopt the same system, especially in Metro Manila? And then another question related to that, bakit po di take advantage na gamitin yung salt water as one source? Wala po bang equipment, machine that can convert it into potable water? Napabanggit kasi kanina yung Clean Act na regarding sa Manila Bay tsaka Esteros. Thank you.
Okay. With respect to the desalination, when I joined Maynilad 4 or 5 years ago, there is a consultancy that studied for the desalination of testing the salinity or the potability of the Manila Bay. It's quite expensive daw, pero there are other plans that moving forward to that one. Maybe that's one of the reason that's why we are pushing for the cleaner Manila Bay. Not only Manila Bay, but any nearby saltwater sources. Yeah, I understand that in other places, say especially in the Middle East, there are no fresh water. There's more salt water. But yeah, we are now say the company. I'm the most likely Maynilad is trying to look also for that one. But basically, the water sources is having it coming from the desalination. It's being considered. Medyo ano lang medyo costly ng konti. At saka yung viability, meaning yung tatanggapin ba nung mga tao na yung tubig is galing doon. Kumbaga salt water siya. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Question po, sir. Isn't water used for power generation also used for irrigation downstream?
As far as I know, yes, kasi nanggagaling po sa ang unang based on the hydropower diagram. When I have the opportunity to visit that one, it's the turbine. It's already in below the lower part of the dam, and then it was being distributed to the irrigation. So most likely, but I need to confirm that one. But based on the aerial view that I've seen, parang ganon.
Actually, sir, iba ata yung usually sa water power generation sa inyo, pero pagdating sa more on sa NIA naman yung irrigation part, no? So parang two agencies working together.
Yes, yes sir. And then actually, yung nga sir nasabi ko kanina, kasi di ba may Napocor, tapos may NIA, tapos may diretso na siya sa dam. So parang distribution siya talaga. Parang a distribution within the distribution.
Okay, sir. Okay, siguro pwede pa tayo a few more questions. Again, there's two questions that are related. Engineer Salenga mentioned that Metro Manila is using deep well. Aren't we concerned with the land sinking just like what happened in Jakarta? And then another question related to that. Since we are utilizing groundwater again, what are the steps that the agencies do to ensure the increase groundwater recharge?
Okay, sir. Yung first question is regarding the sinking. As far as our project is concerned, though, I haven't asked permission from our company, but basically it's more on the public and the public consultation that we had. Say we have one source, or we have one known deep well previously used. We are doing first the site assessment on that one. If we found out that the water table, say the water table is too deep na might cause some sinking on that one. That's also the concern of some homeowners within that nearby homeowners nearby that deep well location. Kaya nga sinasabi namin may mga study pa, may geological study pa nakasama din sa project namin, not merely reactivating that one. To tell you frankly, out of 20, mga dalawa lang yata yung pinapayagan pa namin na mag-proceed. And then to answer also the second question, we have an hydrologist who's studying the output of the assessment prior to the full implementation of the reactivation of those deep wells. So hindi siya basta-basta din na we take into consideration din syempre yung possible sinking na iniisip nung mga iba.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Last question. Marami pa actually questions, but I think let's just address one last question. And then, again, if there's yung questions po na hindi nasagot, just email it later. I'll announce again later kung saan nyo po siya pwedeng email. So last question, what is the expected maximum water full demand of Metro Manila, full capacity, and at what design year? Is the current economic water sources be able to supply the full demand requirement, or is it time to move the developments in the areas with huge available supply of water?
As mentioned earlier, sir, the demand of Metro Manila or the NCR and nearby places are rapidly increasing. Right now, technically, I don't have that figure, and I do not want to have those figures being presented and be used against me. But basically, my point on that one, the demand of water right now is a little bit higher than what we can supply. However, there is some mitigations already that being done. That's why, like for Maynilad, we have now 4 treatment plants that basically get utilized water from Ipo Angat. That's 2,400 million liters per day. And then we have that coming from the allocation of the 4,000 million liters allocated by MWSS, co-shared with Manila Water. And we have also 2 new treatment plants in Putatan. That's the 300 MLD capacity. And then we are still going to construct treatment plants. Why are we constructing treatment plants? And same thing with Manila Water. They have the new treatment plant in Cardona, Cavite. Aside from their Balara and then in the reservoir in La Mesa. So why we are constructing this one? Because we are trying to mitigate the demand, the required demand of the consumer. Every year, every month, the consumers are increasing. Every infrastructures, every condominiums that we have, that we build, it requires water. So what are we doing on that one? We are we are mandated by the government based on their concession agreement to provide potable and safe water. However, all are there are items that are beyond our control. Basically, the more uh, the more areas that need to cover. But basically, our tagline nga is higit sa tubig ang aming serbisyo. So it's more than water. So basically, it's we trying to check also with our consumers kung ano pa yung kailangan. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, ayun. So, I guess the other questions, as I mentioned, if was not addressed, kindly email your questions to zoomwebinar.pice@gmail.com. And so para if ever pwedeng ma-address pa yung questions nyo. So, but before we palakpakan, ako na lang pala papalakpak sa ating speaker. Thank you po. Thank you for sharing your time. And just a few announcement. Ayan, kami dalawa ni Presbong papalakpak. May announcement lang po ako before the closing. So you mentioned about the webinar, yung sa chapter nyo. We actually encourage it. Actually, we're thinking of upgrading later on yung webinar to mga RTCs natin, ganyan. So same format din naman. Wala nga lang snack. Hindi lang kami makapag-provide ng snack sa mga participants. Reminder lang po, I'm pasting yung yan po dun sa chat. Yung pag-register nyo po dun sa membership portal, please register in order for you to get the certificate of attendance. Ulitin ko po. Ayan pala, yan. So please register so you can get the certificate of attendance as well as the link which you will be emailed later on by the PICE para dun sa mga slides of our presentation. For the FB Live, please don't forget to include yung ink kasi may marami yung mga FB pages na may PICE. Pakilagay lang po yung ink when you do the search. Kasi yun po yung parang official na PICE, yung Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers, Inc. Doon po kayo nandun po yung live na feed nitong webinar. And then, so yun po. For the closing, before that, so we have 1 week. So please register yung mga hindi pa nakatanggap ng confirmation kasi po, this is a pilot webinar. So the Secretariat are checking one by one lahat po ng participants na nag-register if they are members of PICE. So medyo matagal lang po kasi. So just wait for the confirmation email sa inyo. So for the closing, I'd like to turn over to our President, Sir Bong.
Hi. So this is the pilot one, no? So there were some technical glitches, but I hope this would not happen again by tomorrow until Saturday. No, we will really do this perfectly so that we can have more of this next time. And again, as what our ISG chair have said, no, Sir Eric, I would like to invite everyone to register in our membership information update campaign because you see PIC, we are already around 100,000 and we really wanted to have your informations so that we can easily contact you, especially on online seminars like this. If we have projects and programs, we can easily contact every member. And also this would be for our membership portal. No, we will be the project of this year is the successful implementation of the membership portal of PICE. So please cooperate with us, and so that we can have more programs to share to all of our members. And also, when you register, we also prepared some raffle, no, draws for you to participate. No, if you register, you are qualified to the raffle draw, no, of this campaign. So please register. And of course, at this point, I would like really to thank you for your participation on this webinar. And we still have 5 days more to go uh, for the series of our webinars. So again, I thank the resource speaker, Engineer Salenga. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank
And
you,
Sir
sir.
Eric, thank you very much. And to all of you, salamat, maraming salamat, daghang salamat. And I hope to see more of these webinars in the future. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir Bong, last ano lang, for tomorrow's lecture, take note, it's 9 o'clock, not 3 p.m. because the speaker is from North Carolina. So medyo we consider the time difference. So 9 o'clock po yung start ng dun sa mga nag-register for the environmental topic. So 9 a.m. po siya.
Okay, so tapos na tayo?
Okay na, sir.
Okay
Thank
na.
you.
Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.